The moment I locked eyes with the man at the dog park, a man who looked unsettlingly like a younger, slightly harder version of me, and watched him call out a name, Ethan, that was identical to the name of the son I had given up for adoption 50 years ago, I knew the carefully locked box holding the biggest, most painful secret of my life was about to burst open. For half a century, I, Elinor had carried the weight of a youthful mistake, giving up my infant son for adoption, believing it was the only way to secure a future free from judgment. I never told anyone, not my late husband, not my daughter, Clara. The shock was instant and overwhelming, but the truly devastating blow came when I realized the man, David was my son, and the boy he was walking, my grandson, was the living proof that a life I had erased was thriving just miles from my home. When I finally revealed the impossible truth, it didn't just expose my secret. It threw 3 generations of family history into an abyss of disbelief and recrimination. Was I wrong to chase the shadow of a life I abandoned and force the truth out after 50 years? Or did fate finally give me the chance to apologize for a lifetime of silence? Tell me, if the son you gave up 5 decades ago suddenly appeared as a total stranger in your ordinary life, would you keep the secret safe, or would you risk everything for one last chance at connection? My name is Elinor and I am 72 years old. I am a widow who lives a comfortable, utterly unremarkable life defined by quiet routines, gardening, and frequent, often tense, visits from my only daughter, Clara, who is 48. My marriage to Arthur spanned 40 wonderful years until he passed away 5 years ago, and I often describe my life as a masterclass in stability and respectability. I was, by all societal measures, a model wife and mother. Yet, beneath that perfectly maintained exterior lay a secret, a colossal shadow that stretched back 50 years and had been the singular, gnawing source of my deepest guilt. My first son, When I was 22, the year was 1973. I was fresh out of college, working as a receptionist and navigating the confusing social turbulence of that era. I became pregnant by a young man who, to be frank, made a hasty exit to join the Merchant Marines and never looked back. I was utterly alone. In that time, and in my small, conservative town, becoming an unwed mother meant instant, lifelong social and financial ruin. I was terrified. I saw my future, the dreams of respectability, a loving husband, and a stable family, vanish before my eyes. I made the most agonizing choice of my life. I arranged for a closed adoption. I carried my son to term, named him Ethan, a name I whispered goodbye to in the sterile hospital nursery, and then walked away, vowing to bury that part of myself forever. I moved across the state, met Arthur 2 years later, married him, and had Clara 10 years after that. The secret was the perfect crime, buried under a lifetime of love and routine. Arthur never knew. Clara never knew. The past was a memory I tried desperately to convince myself was a vivid dream. My routine is sacred, especially my daily walk in the large, manicured town park, specifically the expansive green area near the dog run. It was there, 3 months ago, that the earth opened up beneath me. I was settled on my favorite bench, watching the chaotic energy of the dogs, when a man caught my eye. He was in his early 50s, striking, with a distinctive shock of prematurely white hair and a strong, almost rugged face. He looked uncannily familiar. He had the same deep, set, expressive dark eyes that defined my father's side of the family, eyes that Clara, thankfully, had missed inheriting. The resemblance was so sharp, so unlikely that a chilling sense of dread began to rise in my chest. He looked precisely like the man my son, if he had stayed, would have become. I found myself utterly mesmerized, staring across the lawn, trying to rationalize the resemblance as a trick of the light or my own aging mind playing games. Then the man's golden retriever, a large, clumsy creature, bolted after a squirrel, pulling the leash taut. The man, exasperated, called out, sharp and clear, Ethan, come on, buddy, the name, Ethan, It was like a gunshot in the quiet afternoon air. The name, the face, the age, the sheer, impossible confluence of details hit me. My long, dead secret had materialized in flesh and blood, just 30 yards away. I stumbled to my feet, my legs suddenly weak, forcing myself to walk toward him. "Excuse me," I whispered, my voice cracked and dry. "Did you say Ethan? That's a beautiful name." The man, surprised by the sudden approach of an elderly woman, smiled kindly. "Oh, yes, Ethan, named after my father, Ethan S.R. He's a bit of a handful, this one. And your name, sir?" I pressed, trying to mask the desperate tremor in my voice. "I'm David David Kinsley. Nice to meet you. David, not Ethan." My initial surge of panic subsided slightly, replaced by confusion. If this was my son, he would be Ethan. David looked to be around 52, the correct age. Why David? Why Ethan S.R.? The riddle was baffling, but the resemblance was too strong to be coincidence. For the next 2 weeks, I became a professional stalker. I went to the park religiously, watching David. When I finally worked up the courage to approach him again, I introduced myself as Elinor, a retired neighbor, and steered the conversation to his family history, claiming I was researching local genealogy. "David," I asked one afternoon, my heart pounding, "you mentioned your father, Ethan S.R. You said he adopted you." David nodded, looking slightly uncomfortable with the intensity of my questions. "Yes, he and my mother adopted me right after I was born. It was a closed adoption, but he was the best father a man could ask for. He passed away about 10 years ago." The adoption confirmation shattered my initial confusion and replaced it with terrifying clarity. David was my son. His adoptive parents had changed his first name to David, but honored the birth name, Ethan, by using it for the father figure. The original adoption paperwork, which I had never seen after signing, must have listed the name Ethan, which the adoptive parents then used for themselves. I quickly searched local obituaries for Ethan Kinsley S.R. The dates and location matched the adoption agency I had used in 1973. It was my son, whom I named Ethan, was now David, and the dog was named after his adoptive father, the man who raised him. The shock of confirmation was devastating. David Kinsley, my son, was a thriving landscape designer. He was married to a woman named Maria, and they had a teenage son, my grandson, a life I never knew existed, living just 3 miles from my quiet, respectable home. I had spent 50 years grieving an absence, only to find he was present, fully formed, and utterly unaware of the decades-long secret that had defined my life. I knew I needed irrefutable proof before I crossed the line and destroyed his world. The next time I saw him at the park, I executed the most agonizing, dramatic lie of my life. I feigned a sudden, sharp pain in my hip, stumbling dramatically. David, the good man he was, rushed to help me to my car. In the brief, intense moment he gripped my shoulder to steady me, I covertly plucked a single, short strand of ***, prematurely white hair *** from the shoulder of his dark fleece jacket. The DNA test results arrived 2 weeks later. The finding was clinical, cold, and absolute, ** 99. 99% certainty of a parental match. ***, David Kinsley was my son, Ethan. The lie was over. So that's the situation I was in. I had scientific proof that the man I met at the dog park, David, was the son I gave up for adoption 50 years ago. He was happy, established, and living 3 miles away. My daughter, Clara, and my late husband, Arthur, never knew. Before I tell you about the calculated risk I took to introduce myself to David and the absolute chaos that erupted when I finally revealed my half-century-old secret, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have kept the secret, respecting the life he built without you, or would you have approached him, apologizing for the 50 years of silence? I chose the truth. I knew it would be a bomb, but I could not face the end of my life knowing my son was a short drive away, and I was too much of a coward to speak the truth I owed him. I reasoned that he deserved to know his origins, and I deserved to apologize for the decades of silence. I arranged to meet David Kinsley for coffee, claiming I needed his professional advice on a large, complicated garden restoration, knowing he was a successful landscape designer. We sat in a quiet corner of a cafe, the air thick with tension only I could feel. I started softly, talking about the 1970s, the societal pressure, and the desperate poverty of my youth. He listened politely, professionally, but his eyes were guarded. Then I took the plunge. I pushed a small, velvet-covered box across the table. It contained the DNA test results and a copy of the original 1973 adoption decree, listing my full name, Eleanor Hayes, and the date of his birth. David, I began, my voice barely above a whisper, I didn't ask you here about a garden. I asked you here because I know something about you that you don't know about me. I took a shaky breath. 50 years ago, I was a terrified 22-year-old. I gave birth to a son and gave him up for adoption. I named him Ethan. I am so sorry, David. I am your biological mother. David picked up the box, his hands shaking violently as he looked at the documents. The composure he had maintained collapsed instantly. He didn't cry or scream. Instead, a sickening, profound realization dawned on his face, the horror of total exposure. Ethan Kinsley S.R. was the name of my adoptive father. He confirmed, his voice strained and hollow. But my birth mother was listed as Sarah Jenkins. That's what the agency told me. Who are you? Sarah Jenkins was a pseudonym used by the agency. I confessed, tears finally streaming down my face. My name is Eleanor. I know this is a terrible shock. I lost you, David. I spent my life regretting it. The reaction was immediate and explosive. He pushed the table away, standing abruptly, his chair scraping loudly across the floor. You're lying. You've been watching me. You followed me. You took my hair and did a DNA test. This is the sickest joke I have ever heard. 50 years of silence, and you ambush me in a coffee shop. He demanded, his voice dangerously low and trembling with contained anger. I begged him to sit down, to let me explain the fear, the societal pressure, and my regret. I needed to know you were okay, David. I saw you, and the resemblance. I couldn't ignore it. His rejection was absolute. Don't contact me, ever, he warned, his dark eyes burning with fury. I have a family. I have a life. I am happy. You are not a part of it. You forfeited that right half a century ago. He spun on his heel and walked out, leaving the velvet box and the documents scattered on the table. The forced silence lasted 2 agonizing weeks, but I had already destroyed the stability of his world, and my conscience wouldn't allow me to stop. I knew this final act would be the most reckless, desperate thing I had ever done. I found his house and drove there, ready to detonate the bomb I had carried for 50 years. When I knocked, David's kind wife, Maria answered. I introduced myself calmly as Eleanor and asked to speak to David about a very important, personal matter concerning David's past. David rushed to the door, his face a mask of absolute fury and panic. I told you to leave, he hissed at me, trying to block Maria's view. I ignored him, looking Maria directly in the eye, knowing this was the final, devastating blow. Maria, I said, my voice measured and firm. I am here because I made a mistake 50 years ago. The man you call David, the man I met in the park, is my son. I am his biological mother. I gave him up for adoption, and I am truly sorry for the chaos this will cause, but I can't let the lie of my life continue. David exploded, screaming for me to leave. But the damage was done. Maria was staring from David to me, the color draining from her face as the full realization sank in. The initial fallout was chaotic. Maria, utterly blindsided, immediately assumed David was involved in an ongoing, elaborate, sick affair with an older woman, a suspicion that was heartbreakingly predictable. It took David hours of desperate explanation, showing her the discarded documents, to convince her of the truth. Their marriage was severely tested, and David blamed me entirely for the needless destruction. But the worst was the reckoning with my own daughter, Clara. I told her the truth the next day. She was utterly devastated, not just that she had a biological brother she never knew about, but she was furiously angry that her entire life, her father's love, and her view of our stable family were based on a colossal lie her mother had maintained for 5 decades. She could not, and has not, forgiven me for deceiving Arthur. David has since reached out, but only out of strained obligation, likely pressured by Maria, who now feels a painful curiosity. His family is slowly processing the shock. My relationship with Clara is severely fractured, bordering on non-existent. I lost my daughter's trust, but I gained the brutal, painful truth. David and I meet occasionally, always in public, always stiffly, but in those dark, dark eyes that mirror my own, I see the faint glimmer of connection I risked everything for. I may have ruined the end of my life, but at least I finally told the truth, and I got to look my son in the eye and say I'm sorry. Like this video, if you believe the truth must come out, no matter how old the secret is. Subscribe for more stories about long, lost family secrets and shocking discoveries. Share your final thoughts on Eleanor's 50-year secret in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.